So the first inelastic scattering is Rayleigh scattering. So it is nothing but so the scattering of sunlight. No, so in our Earth atmosphere, so many atoms and molecules are present. So the scattering of the sunlight, it occurs by the atoms and molecules which are present in the gases of the Earth atmosphere. So the scattering of sunlight, which occurs by the atoms or molecules which are present in the Earth atmosphere, is known as Rayleigh scattering. Okay, so here, so there is a one law, that is Rayleigh scattering law. So this law states that the amount of scattering of light, that is the number, that means the amount of scattering of light, that is how much the sunlight scattering of sunlight, okay, it is inversely proportional to the fourth power of the wavelength. So already we know that the symbol of the wavelength, okay, and see, it states that the amount of scattering of light, okay, so it is inversely proportional to the fourth power of its wavelength. So see the screen, so it is the Rayleigh scattering law. So the amount of scattering is given by the letter S, and we know the inversely proportional sign, and we also know the wavelength sign, okay. So see, S inversely proportional to the fourth power of the lambda. So the Rayleigh scattering law states that the amount of the scattering light is inversely proportional to the fourth power of its wavelength, okay. So according this Rayleigh scattering law, the shorter wavelength colors, that is we are having VIBGY or no, among this, which color possesses the shorter wavelength? Yes, it is blue. And which one possesses the greatest wavelength? It is red. So blue possesses the shortest wavelength, and red possesses the longest wavelength. So according this law, the shorter wavelength color, that is blue, is scattered much more than the red color. Okay, so it states that the Rayleigh states this one. So once again I am telling you that Rayleigh scattering law is it states that the amount of scattering light, that is the uh, amount, the number, is inversely proportional to the fourth power of the wavelength. So here, based on this law, we know that blue color has the shortest wavelength and red color has the longest wavelength. See, the shortest wavelength scatter much more than the red color, okay. See here children, there is a one question for you. Why sky appears blue in color? See, it is very important 2 mark question in this lesson. Very, very important question. So the answer is, so when the sunlight pass through the atmosphere, no, so the sunlight, the light scattered from the sunlight which enters the earth atmosphere, in there we are having so many atoms and molecules. So that sunlight passes through the atmosphere. We are having 7 colors in the atmosphere, so which are, so the blue color, already just now only I told, the blue color possesses the shortest wavelength, but it scatter much more than the longest wavelength red, okay. So this is the reason why the sky appears blue in color. So the sunlight enters the atmosphere, the blue color scattered to a greater extent than the red color, okay. So this causes the sky to appear in blue color. See, so the next question for you is, why sky appear red in color during the sunrise and sunset? See here the same content. So at the time of sunrise and sunset, the light rays from the sun, no, it travel to a longer distance to the at the noon time. So the sunlight from the rays from the sunlight, it travels to a longer distance, okay. So when it travels, the blue color scattered away, and the red color only reaches us. So that it is the reason why the sky appears red in color during the sunrise and sunset. Okay, so these two questions are very important 2 mark in this lesson. So once again, I am telling you, Rayleigh scattering is nothing but the scattering of sunlight by the atoms and molecules in the earth atmosphere, and there is a one law, that is the amount of scattering is inversely proportional to the fourth power of the wavelength. So the next inelastic scattering is Mie scattering. So Mie scattering is nothing but the diameter of the scatterer is much more similar, or it may be larger than the incident light. So we have when the rays from the sunlight strikes the atoms or molecules, and then the interacting particle medium, it gets scattered. Okay, so see, so the diameter of the scatterer is similar, or it may be larger than the wavelength of the incident light, is called the Mie scattering. So it comes under the category of the elastic scattering. So see, the amount of the scattering is independent of the wavelength. So it is the scattering of the light, the amount of the scattering light, no, it is independent to the wavelength of the scattering. So this Mie scattering, it is caused by some particles which are small, which are present in the atmosphere in lower portion. So it may be pollen, dust particles, and smoke, water droplets, and some other particles which are present in the atmosphere in lower portion. Okay, so these are all the causes for the Mie scattering. So once again I am telling you, Mie scattering is nothing but the diameter, okay, the diameter of the scatterer. Okay, so we know what is scatterer and what is incident light. Okay, so the diameter of the scatterer is similar, or it may be larger than the incident light, okay, is called the Mie scattering, and it is caused by the some particles which are present in the atmosphere in lower portion, and the particles may be pollen, dust particles, water droplets. Okay, so these are all the some particles which causes Mie scattering. So here one question for you. So why our clouds are white in color? So the answer is it is because of the Mie scattering. How? So the reason is, when the white light come from the sunlight, it falls on the water drop. Okay, so at the time we are having in the atmosphere, we are having 7 colors, no. So when the white light it falls on the water drops, this all 7 colors equally scattered together and form the white light. Okay, this is the reason why our clouds are white in appearance. So the answer is, it is due to the Mie scattering. So if you're asking reason, means you have to write the white color light falls on the water drop. These 7 colors equally scattered together and form the white light. So this is about the Mie scattering. So the next one is Tyndall scattering. See, Tyndall scattering is, so if you are in a dusty room, okay, so in that room, when we are opening the window, the sunlight, the light which comes from the sunlight, no, it travels through the window, and we can able to see the we can able to see the rays which are coming from the sunlight, no. So how we are how it is visible to us? It is because of the dust particles which are present in the room. So this dust particles interact with the rays. Okay, so it is called the Tyndall scattering. See, when a beam of sunlight, so beam of sunlight means a collection of light rays. This collection of light rays which enter into a dusty room. Okay, so how it is enters into the dusty room? It may be, or it must be entered through a window. Okay, then the light which enter through the window to a dusty room, the path, no, where how the light rays travels to the room, this path is visible to us, because in the dust particle, in the dusty room, we are having dust particles present in the air. Okay, so this dust particles scatter the beam of light. So it is a very good example for Tyndall scattering. So just keep it in your mind. So it is an example for a Tyndall scattering. So now we are going to see the definition for Tyndall scattering. So this Tyndall scattering is nothing but the scattering of light rays by the colloidal particles. So it is the important word for in the Tyndall scattering. So see, we are learning scattering of light only. So in Rayleigh scattering, Mie scattering, so it all the types of scattering. So here also the scattering of light is occurs, but how it is occurs? It is occurs by the colloidal particles in the colloidal solution. So I hope you all know about you all know the colloidal solution. Okay, so the scattering of light occur by the colloidal particle in the colloidal solution is called the Tyndall scattering, or we can say Tyndall effect. Okay, so once again I am telling you, Tyndall scattering is nothing but the scattering of light ray which is caused by the colloidal particle in the colloidal solution. So it's called the Tyndall scattering, or we can say it as Tyndall effect. So for understanding this concept clearly, so we have one example, that is, if you are in a dusty room, so when you're opening the window, the rays which are coming from the sunlight which enter to the dusty room through the window, then we can able to see the a path of the light which are um, entering into the dusty room. It is because the dust particles present in the dusty room have an interact with the light rays. That is, the dust particle present in the room scattered the beam of light. Okay, so it is called the Tyndall scattering. So the next one is Raman scattering. So it is also an important question in this lesson. So see, Raman scattering is when collection of when a collection of single colored light rays, that is a beam of monocolored light rays which passes through a gas or liquid or any transparent solid material. So the light ray which travels through the gases, liquids or transparent solid, a part of light rays only scattered. So see, if 20% light rays are travel through the transparent solid or liquid, only 10% is scattered. Okay, so this scattered light contains some additional wavelength or some additional frequency than the incident frequency. It is called the Raman scattering, or we can say it as Raman effect. Clear, children? See, listen. So if 50% light rays, a beam of or a collection of single color light rays, they are traveling through to a gas or transparent solid or a liquid medium, only 50% of it. So if 50% traveling through it, only 25% of light rays are only scattered. Okay, see, if the scattered light has so only 25% only gets scattered. But this scattered light has more frequency than the incident light frequency. It is called Raman effect or Raman scattering. Okay. It is defined as the interaction of the rays with the particles of the pure liquid or solids or gases. It change the wavelength or the frequency. It leads to the change in the wavelength or frequency. It is called the Raman scattering. Clear, children? Okay. See, the next one is the spectral line. So what is spectral line? So it is like a fingerprint. It is used to identify the atoms or elements or molecules which are present in the star, galaxy and clouds. So the spectral lines having a frequency which are equal to the incident ray frequency. So the frequency which are equal to both the spectral line and the incident ray frequency is called Rayleigh line. Okay, so the frequency is equal to the spectral line, and the incident ray is called Rayleigh line. So on the other hand, if the spectral line frequency is the spectral line having frequency other than the incident ray frequency is called Raman line. So Rayleigh means both the both the incident ray and the spectral line having the equal frequency, but in the Raman line, the spectral line having frequency than the incident frequency. Okay. So the next case is the spectral line having frequency lower than the incident frequency is called stroke lines. So the first one is Rayleigh. Rayleigh in the case both the spectral line and the incident ray having equal frequency, and the next one is Raman line. Here the spectral line frequency is higher than the incident frequency, and the third one is stroke lines. Here the spectral line frequency is lower than the incident frequency is called the stroke line, and the last one is anti-strokes line, that is the spectral line frequency higher than the incident frequency is called the anti-strokes line. So this is about the Raman scattering. So the next topic in this lesson is lenses. So we all know a lens is an optically transparent medium, isn't it? Yes. So this it is bounded by a two spherical refracting surfaces. So this is a lens. So we are see the screen. This is a lens. So it is bounded by a two spherical refracting surface, or it has one plane surface, or it has one spherical surface. Okay, so see the lenses, it is basically classified into two types. They are convex lens and concave lens. See, this one is the convex and this one is the concave lens. So first we are going to see about the convex lens. So this convex lens is also called the biconvex lens. Okay, because it is bounded by the two spherical surfaces. So two means bi. So only we are saying it as biconvex lens. It is bounded by the two spherical surfaces. That is, it is thicker at the center. So when we are touching the convex lens, we can feel that it is thicker at the center than the two edges. Okay, so when a collection of light rays passing through the convex lens, it is converged to a point. So what is converge? Converging means, so a collection of a beam of light rays which are joining in a one certain point is called the converging point. So a convex lens is also called a converging lens because it converging the beam of light rays. So it is called a converging lens. So the next one is concave lens, otherwise we can say it as biconcave lens. See, here it is bounded by the two spherical surfaces. Okay, so here also it is bounded by two spherical surfaces, so we can say it as biconvex lens. See, it is just opposite to the convex lens. In that case, convex lens, we can feel that it is thicker at the center and it is thinner at the edges, but here in the concave lens, it is thinner at the center and it is thicker at the edges. Okay, see, if a collection of light rays passing through the concave lens, it is diverged, that is spread out or splitting out. Okay, so the light rays, it's splitter is called the it is called diverging lens. So a concave lens have the property to diverge the lens. Okay, so it is called the diverging lens. So this is about the lens and the types of lens. So lens is an optically transparent medium and it is bounded by the two spherical refracting surface, or it may be bounded by a one plane surface, or it may be bounded by a one spherical surface. And this lens is classified into two types. The one is convex lens and the other one is concave lens. So the convex lens is also called a biconvex lens, or we are said as a converging lens. because when a light ray is passing through the convex lens, it converge all the light rays in a certain point is called the converging point. So it is, we are saying it as converging lens. And when we are touching the convex lens, we can feel that it is thick at the center and it is thin at the two edges. On the other hand, when concave lens, it is also known as a diverging lens or biconcave lens, because it is bounded by a two spherical refracting surfaces, and it is just opposite to the convex lens. That is, when a collection of light rays passing through the concave lens, it spread out all the rays. Okay, so if we are saying it as diverging lens, and when we are touching the concave lens, we can feel that it is thinner at the center than it is thicker at the edges. Okay, so the next one is types of other types of lenses. So first we seen that the convex and concave lens. So next we are going to see some other types of lenses. So the first one is plano-convex lens. So plano-convex lens is the other type of the lens. Look at the image. So see, so the basically lens means it is bounded by a two spherical refracting surface, but in the plano-convex lens, one face of the lens is plane, and the other one is spherical. It is called a plano-concave convex lens. And plano-concave lens means here also the one surface is plane and the another surface is spherical. It is called the plano-convex lens and the plano-concave lens. So the next topic is images formed due to the refraction through a concave and convex lens. Here they are given some rules for better understanding the position of the size and nature of the image when the object placed in front of the lens. So the light from the object fall on the lens, then we get image. Okay, so we can able to study the size of the image and the nature of the image. No, for that, for understand this concept clearly, first we have to know the some basic rules. Okay, so here they are given 3 rules. So the first rule is, so look at the image. So the first rule is, when a light ray, it strikes the lens at the center, that is optical center, it continues its flow, that is the path, it's never break, it continues its flow without any deviation. It is the first rule. So the first rule is, when the light ray which is coming from the source, it strikes the when it strikes the concave or the convex lens, whatever, when it strikes the optical center, the path, it continues its flow. Okay, it never get deviated at any point. So it is the first rule, that is ray passing through the optical center. So when the ray passing through the optical center of the concave or the convex lens, it never get deviated. Okay, so the path, it continues its path. It is the first rule. And the second rule is ray passing parallel to the optic axis. See here, the rays which are parallel to the principal axis, it strikes the concave or the convex lens. The refracted ray may be converged in the convex lens and it is diverged in the concave lens to the principal focus. So look at the image. So that F1, F2 is the principal focus. So O is the optical center. So that that the red color line, no, that is the light ray. So this light ray, see the for convex lens. So the light ray strikes the convex lens it refracted to the principal focus. See, the light ray which is coming from the source, it strikes the convex lens, and then it refracted through the principal focus, that is f2. Now look at the image. So see the the red colored line that is coming from the source, and it strikes the convex lens, and it get refracted to the principal focus at the point f2. It is convex lens, and in the case of concave lens, that the light coming from the source strikes the concave lens, but here it is diverged, that is see, it is diverged, it does not converge with f1 or f2, it is diverged to the principal focus. So it is the second rule, that is rays passing parallel to the optic center. And the third rule is rays passing through towards or directed towards the principal focus. So see the first case, convex lens, when the ray coming from the source, it passing through the principal focus and it strikes the lens. See, first it passing through the f1 and it strikes the convex lens, and the ray is refracted. So the refracted ray is parallel to the principal axis, it is convex. And in the case of concave lens, the ray which is coming from the source, it passing through the concave lens and it strikes the principal focus, and here the refracted ray is also parallel to the principal axis. Look at the image, the ray from the source strikes a concave lens, and the refracted ray is parallel to the principal axis. So these are the three rules. Okay,